It's the day after Christmas, and we have got our top 10 prospects that are updated for the Washington Nationals. Who's number one and who cracked the top 10?
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And I am your host, Ryan Clary. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. And later on in today's program, the Washington Nationals, there is a statistic against them that is not too good, and it has to do with free agency. We'll discuss that later on in the program today, but I'm going to give you my updated top 10 prospect list as the Nationals. They've got a lot of guys to talk about, but I do want to hone in on my top 10 and give you some notes on some key prospects for the Washington Nationals, who some may help in just a few years, but some could also help this season inside this top 10. So I'll give you number one right after we tell you about today's episode sponsor, which is our friends over at Gametime. And yes, the Gametime app is great, and you can download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So we get inside the top 10 prospects for the Washington Nationals, and this is my updated version. I mean, there has been a lot of movement as far as player development goes, as far as this front office goes, and I think that if you are trying to rank prospects, the way that prospects work under different regimes, it just is kind of different. And I think the way that you feel about certain guys makes you feel a little bit different. So with Paul Taboni, with Ani Clemmey, you've got Devin Pearson from the Red Sox and Clemmey from the Phillies. Like, you have got these different characters now that I think may make you feel a little bit different about some guys in this organization. So let's get it started. The Nationals' number one prospect, to no surprise, should be the number one overall pick, Eli Willits. And Eli Willits, I think we have talked about this time and time again with this guy. He has got the highest ceiling in this Nationals prospect group. Like, he is the number one overall pick for a reason. I still believe that the Nationals made the correct decision when DeBartolo selected Eli Willits at 1-1 this past summer. And I think we all saw why. You saw the contact ability down in Fredericksburg this season. He was able to hit the ball, have a solid contact rate, and even then, you did see some gap-to-gap power, especially from someone who is a switch-hitting bat. And for someone who also plays a very valuable defensive position with shortstop, you see why this guy is such a prized prospect. And by the way, the one flaw in his game is the fact that he has not been able to develop power. I think one of the main reasons that you get Paul Taboni, that you get Ani Clemmey and Devin Pearson, and you make these player development overhauls, is that you can develop this guy's power. That is something that you simply can develop nowadays, whether it be making a few tweaks with his swing and the way that his angle comes in at the whatever it could be. You have someone as talented as Eli Willits, so you can develop them. So I think that Eli Willits, to no one's surprise, is the number one Nationals prospect, and he has the highest ceiling as of right now. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because the Nationals did add 2 top 10 talents inside their farm system this year, and I think that this is kind of where things might get a little bit muddied. So here we go. We've got number one, Eli Willits. My number two guy is still Travis Sykora. I think that Travis Sykora today, coming off Tommy John surgery a few months ago, he is still going to be my number one pitching prospect and the guy that I cannot wait to see post Tommy John. I have seen enough of Sykora to say this is a legit MLB talent. And I think that he was going to get to a point where he might be MLB ready this season, but unfortunately undergoing Tommy John surgery, but still that does not take away from what this kid has done so far. I think that Sykora, beyond the stuff, the results have been insane, and the progression that he has had the last few seasons has been incredible. Developing a splitter and making it one of his most elite pitches. He had that splitter in high school, and it was a good pitch, but he has made that pitch even better. I mean, the break on that is something I think a lot of people don't really talk enough about. And we've talked a lot about certain things with Sakura. Like there have been some flare ups, whether it be down in AA or who knows what has happened with him. But I still believe in the fact that this is going to be one of your best prospects coming out of this system. And I do believe that eventually down in 2027, he will be inside the top 50 prospect rankings from MLB.com, and he will be a legit prospect moving forward. So I still like what Sakura brings to the table. He rounds out my top two right there at the number 2 spot. Here's where it gets a little bit more fun. Number 3, Jarlin Susana. Jarlin Susana, he is one of those guys where I think the debates are going to happen. Is this going to be a starting pitcher, or is this going to be an elite closer? Right now, he's a starting pitcher, and that's where he should be. He might be one of the most intriguing prospects to watch entering 2026. He did battle some injuries this past year, and he has had some injuries overall that has kind of limited what he has done down in the minor leagues. But he, as far as I know, is 100% healthy heading into this season, and I think that he is going to be the big name to watch in 2026 early on. Jarlin Susana has a chance to not only just start in AA or even AAA, but this is someone who has an opportunity to eventually crack the starting rotation for the Washington Nationals. When I look at teams out there, I have always said to myself, like, man, if Jarlin Susana was with, let's say, the Dodgers organization or the Rays, what would he look like? Would he be even better with data and analytics and a better player development background? I would think yes. Like, this guy has got some of the best stuff in all of minor league baseball. I mean, he truly does. A fastball that's nearly sitting 100 miles per hour. Then you've got a 70 grade slider that is devastating, getting a ton of swings and misses in there. And the Nationals under Mike Rizzo, who obviously does not have this massive player development background, he was still able to develop Jarlin Susana. That is something that I think under Paul Taboni and this new player development regime, using data and analytics to help develop and mold prospects, Susana could be someone who could be even better. And he is already a top 100 prospect, a consensus one, if you ask me. And I think that what he showed us this past season, you have every right to believe that this guy is going to be a star someday. And I think that if you're a Nationals fan out there, he is going to be the guy to watch to make that climb, that big-time star prospect who could be on the mound at Nationals Park making his debut maybe sometime later on this summer, whether it be in August or even in September for a start before he competes for an opening day spot going into 2027. So Jarlin Susana, he rounds out my top 3 with the number 3 spot. But here's where we get more fun again. Number 4 is Harry Ford. Now, if you look at MLB.com, Harry Ford is the number 2 guy. And I want to say this, I like Harry Ford. The trade that the Nationals made makes a ton of sense for what they are trying to do. You have someone who has the opportunity to be your franchise catcher. You have someone in Harry Ford who could be better defensively and who likely will be better defensively than what you have gotten behind the plate for the past few seasons now. But you have that chance to have your franchise guy. There's that. But here's also the thing. There are some concerns in his game. And if you look back at 2024, where he played 116 games, he was not his best self. You kind of saw the power get a little, kind of just stunned a little and stunned his growth. And not a lot of people were talking about someone who was a top 25 prospect in baseball at one point. And so he ultimately kind of fell in some rankings, bounced back in AAA this past year, made the roster later on in September and looked okay for the most part. But I think that here's the thing with Ford is that there are some holes in his game. And I do think at times we kind of just gloss over them as a whole. And there is a reason why some guys and some people out there don't even have him inside the top 10 catchers as far as minor league prospects go. Like, he is a great talent, but I don't think that in this national system, he reaches top 2 status for me. I think that is Eli Willits at number 1, and then number 2 is Sakura, followed by Susana, and then we get to Harry Ford, a former first-round pick by the Seattle Mariners. I still like Harry Ford. I still would implore the Nationals to make him the opening day catcher and have this guy have a full 162 game season, see if he can grow, see if he can get better defensively, and ultimately see if that power translates from AAA to the major league level, because I think that Harry Ford has the chance to be a really good franchise kind of changing player and a leader and someone that this clubhouse loves, but also you got to give him the opportunities to play. And I think that's what it's going to come down to. So I got Harry Ford inside my top 4. Who is at number 5 all the way through number 10 and who just made the cut? We'll jump into that after this. Before that, I'm going to tell you about our friends at Gametime. And in the midst of basketball season, and there is nothing like being in the building, the crowd, the energy, and the moments you can get from watching on the couch. The only problem is getting tickets, but you can do that and solve that problem with our friends at Gametime. And that is why Gametime is such a game changer. It puts the advantage back in the fans' hands and makes scoring great NBA tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. The other day, I went to the Cleveland Cavaliers against the Washington Wizards. I pulled up my Gametime app. I saw some flash zone deals. I was going to take advantage of that, but even I saw a better deal in the lower sections. I stood there outside Capital One Arena. I've had 2 clicks, and bam, I had my tickets entering that arena right before tip-off, and I got the best deal possible. And seeing NBA tickets starting as low as $25 made it a no-brainer for a last-minute game night. And you know the price right up there at front. There's no surprise fees at checkout. And even better, you can see the view from your seats on your phone before purchasing them. That is a great perk that no one else has. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime and download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDON MLB for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. And we're back here on Locked On Nationals as we are giving you our top 10 updated Nationals prospects entering 2026. And this is where some changes will be made. So my number 5 prospect for the Washington Nationals entering 2026 is the guy that we just acquired from the Red Sox. That is Luis Perales. And when the Nationals sent over, blanking on his name at this point, I wanted to say Connolly early, but when the Nationals made this trade to acquire Luis Perales, it was kind of a head-scratching move. But I think if you look at where Perales is, this is someone who's got an incredibly high ceiling, who can throw upper 90s to 100 with his fastball. He's got a good slider. He's got a good cutter, got a good splitter as well. This is someone who has got 4 pitches, 4 of them which he uses relatively frequently, and I do think that his splitter is something to watch as we go into 2026. Luis Perales is coming off Tommy John surgery, but from what he showed and the limited action that he had across multiple different levels this year, and also in the Arizona Fall League, he looks the part. Now, here's the thing with the Nationals, though. He's kind of in that, like, Jarlin Susana category where it's like you look at what he brings to the table and you're like, okay, like his stuff kind of screams reliever. He's only 6'1". When you have someone like Jarlin Susana, who is 6'6", 240 pounds, he's a monster out there. Perales is not that. He's, again, 6 foot to 6'1", not the biggest guy in the world. So will that kind of hinder him as we go on down the stretch? That might be a big question to ask. But as of right now, again, there is no reason to think that this guy will not be a starter, at least at first, for the Washington Nationals. And I think that the stuff that he has obviously pinpoints him as a guy to watch entering this season. He might be the first intriguing prospect to get the call up for the Nationals. And really, even then today, I would expect him to be in the mix for the starting rotation spot. And I think that the Nationals, if they were smart, they would give him a real opportunity to crack that top 5 and be in that opening day rotation as their number 4 or number 5, because not even to mention, he's 22 years old. I do think he is ready now. He's coming off that Tommy John. He'll probably have to get some more innings under his belt and before he gets the call up. But I feel as if that this is someone who should be in the mix, and I think he will be. But depending on how he pitches down in spring training, we'll see what the Nationals ultimately decide to do. So he's my number 5. Who is my number 6? That is Alex Clemmey. I think Alex Clemmey might be the most intriguing arm to watch this season. And I've said that a lot about it, guys, here. But I think what Alex Clemmey brings to the table, and as far as ceilings go right now, he might have the most intriguing ceiling out there. He is a very, very talented pitcher. And I think that with Alex Clemmey and what he brings, a high 90s fastball, a really good slider, a changeup that he started to develop, and you see the stuff and it pops. And when you see him in person, you're like, okay, this makes sense. A high 90s fastball from the left side, 20 years old. He's turning 21 in the middle of this summer, and he's coming off a really impressive season in which he climbed from high A all the way to double A this year as a 20-year-old and didn't look the best in double A Harrisburg. But if you look at some of the preliminary numbers, like he had a 153 whip and a 278 average in those 6 starts. Not the best thing out there, but even then, looking at this deeper, 13 walks in 29 and a third innings pitch and 60 walks in 87 and a third innings pitch for Wilmington this season. If you can cut those walks in half, let's just say, it's not the best walk rate in the world. Like, the walk rate is a real issue at this point. But if you look at the underlying numbers and like the high whip and the high walk rate, if you can just cut that in half, or not even in half, by 25%, what would it look like? Because in 19 starts at high A this year, even after walking 60 guys and not even 90 innings this year, he had a 2.47 ERA. He had 113 strikeouts and 87 and a third innings pitch. Now in double A, he had 23 strikeouts and 29 and a third innings pitch, but still his walk rate is what hurts him today. And I do think that is something that will improve. He's just 20 years old. He turns 21 in July of this summer. So there is some time to work with Alex Clemmey. And I think that he is going to be an intriguing guy to watch down in the minors, who could be a fast riser and could be up in the majors, maybe even as soon as 2027. So stay tuned for a conversation about that down the road. But he's obviously inside my top 6. My number 7 guy is Seaver King. If you remember, go back to when the Nationals drafted Seaver King. I liked the idea of it, but for where the Nationals were, I was not convinced that that was going to be a good selection. And the reason why I said that was because of Mike Rizzo. I just don't think Mike Rizzo does too well when it comes to developing prospects and developing some raw talents. Now, here we have a new regime, and Seaver King just had his first full season down in the minors. Wasn't the best offensively, a really impressive defensive there for a while as he was a shortstop, moved him around the diamond. This guy could really play anywhere. You can put him out in the outfield, he'll be good. Play him up middle infield, he's going to be really good there. And I think that Seaver King is someone that should really turn heads this year, and I do expect him to be a really good prospect for the Nationals. This is someone that you have always kind of had to think to yourself, like, okay, let's be patient. He only had 1 year Division I baseball. He was really good at Wake Forest, but that one season still, that's something that you're going to have to kind of adjust to. And so when you do make that climb up into the minor leagues, when you're in low A, I think the competition, like if you're playing in the ACC or the SEC, it might be a little bit better than low A Fredericksburg. I don't really know. But he did look okay there last year. But as he kind of worked his way up through the minors this season, you saw him struggle, especially when he got to double A. was not the offensive threat that I think a lot of people expected him to be. But I do think going forward, as the Nationals make their adjustments in player development, Seaver King might be the guy to watch to see just kind of how this thing works and how this regime will change the way that you develop prospects. We don't really know necessarily how high or how low they are on Seaver King, but I think someone as toolsy as him, when we made that move back in drafting him in 2024, I kind of thought to myself, like, well, how would he look in the Red Sox organization or the Rays, a team that develops and uses analytics? Now we have that. He is going to be probably the guy to watch, and that'll kind of give you a temperature of how good this organization is with developing their prospects. I think Seaver King, he'll be kind of a good case study to follow as we go on in the 2026 season. So he's my number 7 guy. My number 8 guy is Luke Dickerson. Luke Dickerson, I'm still really high on Luke Dickerson. He was a second-round pick. He was the second-round pick in 2024, and really the Nationals, one of their first-round picks. He had a first-round talent. He broke Mike Trout's high school record for home runs in New Jersey, a multiple sport athlete, played ice hockey, won a state championship there, and he was one of the late bloomers in that 2024 draft class that had an ultra-impressive season. In his first year down in the minors for the Nationals, started off really hot the first few weeks and then really fell off, had a lot of strikeouts, didn't really put the ball in play as much as we would like him to do, had 88 strikeouts in 89 games. I mean, not the best stuff there, wasn't drawing walks, didn't really have the power, only 6 home runs in those 89 games. And for someone who has the potential to be a big-time power threat, I still think that Luke Dickerson has a bright future, and I still really like what he brings to the table. So not down on him whatsoever. I just think I'm higher on some other guys like Seaver King. So Luke Dickerson is someone who certainly could be a big piece moving forward. And number 9, you've got Coy James. I think Coy James, the shortstop, he was a 5th-round pick out of this past year's draft. You did not see him play down in rookie ball for the Nationals, but he's an intriguing guy. And again, I look at these prep guys that the Nationals have taken over the last few years, and I really like this new direction of drafting. Like, the Nationals got a ton of talent and a ton of prep talent these past 2 years in the draft. I feel as if, like, I'm always a believer in a high school bat and a high school shortstop, that is, as well. And this is someone who, Coy James, who should stick in the middle infield, whether it be at shortstop or second base, or maybe even throw him at third base eventually. Who knows? It's still too early to tell, but really good power instincts early on, high exit velos, good contact. He can run a little bit. He's got good defense. He's kind of in that role where it's like, this guy, it would not surprise me if he turns out to be a really good star type of player, but also would not surprise me if he's like a lower level Freddie, and we'll just kind of see him develop as time goes on. But I love the talent that Coy James brings. Haven't been able to see him in person yet, but he's someone that I think the Nationals will certainly be very interested in as he develops moving forward. So he's your number 9. And my number 10, to round out the Nationals' top 10 prospects, I've got Landon Harmon. Again, similar situation with Coy James, with a prep starting pitcher at 19 years old. The Nationals took him in the 3rd round of this year's draft class. I like him. I like what he brings to the table at 6'5", 190 pounds, a fastball that can reach up into the upper 90s. And I've seen him actually, I believe he peaked out at 99 miles per hour in the high school ranks. This is someone who obviously could add a couple miles per hour. He's got an upper 80s cutter that should play down in the minor leagues. And he's going to be someone that I think will be a very interesting watch, because we did not see him down in rookie ball. I would expect for him at this point to start down in Fredericksburg, probably stay there for a majority of 2026. And I think he's certainly someone that I think the Nationals will obviously be very high on moving forward. So Landon Harmon, he wraps out the top 10 for my Nationals updated prospects. Got 2 guys that just missed the cut. I think it's kind of interesting. Marconi Herman, who really had a breakout year with the DSL Nationals, and then Ethan Petrie, the 2nd round pick out of the University of South Carolina, showed some pop, but I think that his game is going to have to really improve. And I'm really going for the ceilings here. I think the 10 guys ahead of both those at this point at least have higher ceilings. That's at least my judgment of this situation. Both those guys, really good prospects. So I like with where the national system is today. And I think that they will improve drastically as the season goes on. But I want to get into this next. Nationals. When are you going to spend money? I'll give you a stat after this. NFL Sundays move fast in one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. And with FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, and every highlight moment. And live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment with live spreads and money lines adjusted instantly. Yesterday, I took a Bill anytime touchdown score during the game, and yes, he broke off that 60-yard touchdown run, and yes, I cashed my bet, and it was so much fun. And unfortunately, I did also parlay it with a Cowboys money line bet, and that did win too. So while I watched the Commanders lose, I did win some money with our friends at FanDuel. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you with our friends at FanDuel. And we're back here on Locked On Nationals, and this is an interesting stat about the Washington Nationals that I'm not too upset with yet at this point, but I'm starting to get there. The Nationals are the last team to give out a $20 million contract. You heard that right. The Nationals have not given out a $20 million contract. Even the A's, the Las Vegas Athletics, or not even the Oakland or the A's. Like, they are the Sacramento A's or just the Athletics. They don't even have a home at this point. They just gave out a big deal to their left fielder, Tyler Soderstrom, who had a breakout season. You saw the White Sox this past weekend. They signed a first baseman from Japan. You've seen the Pirates. They have made some deals this offseason. They were reportedly interested in Kyle Schwarber and were willing to move some big things to try to get Kyle Schwarber in Pittsburgh. And the Cincinnati Reds have done some contracts. And here we are, just this little old market, Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. And they have not spent on a $20 million contract since anyone in this new decade. Like, here's the thing with the Nationals. I don't expect them to go get Alex Bregman, but here's what I do expect is you should try to make your team better. And I do understand that you should evaluate what you have in-house. And this is a team that, again, even if you signed a Alex Bregman, and let's say you just traded for a Tarek Skubal, this is a team that I think is still not ready for the postseason. And I don't think that masks all your mistakes. Like, you have got to have a lot of help. You need a completely new bullpen. You're going to need a lot of new starting pitchers. You're going to need your guys to stay healthy. You're going to need your guys to stay consistent. James Wood and CJ Abrams, they can't fall off in the second half. Dylan Cruz is going to have to elevate his game. Like, there are a lot of things that will have to happen for this thing to work. But I also think that if you are the Nationals, you should be out there trying to sign some talent, even if it's on 1 year, $15 million deals. And the reason why I say that is because it's not for winning. Like, yes, it does help you win, obviously, and that is going to be the ultimate goal for this team. But in a rebuild, what is better? That, let's say you sign, I don't know, just name that random $1 million contract kind of guy, like a D. Gordon back in the day. Or do you go out there and sign someone on a 1 year prove-it deal like a Ha-Sung Kim and give them the money, give them a 2-3 year deal, someone that you could trade at the deadline and get some real value in return? Like, that should be in the cards for the Nationals, and they have not done moves like that. I don't really know if this is going to be a Taboni thing. I don't know if it's going to be a Learner's thing, but seeing that baseball out there, like, you have got teams that are spending some, not real money. I mean, it's not the most, but the Nationals have not spent $20 million. Like, that is something I think that we'll have to talk about eventually. And if you have confidence in them spending or not down the road. So it's something we can get into later on, but this is a Christmas week. It was a short holiday week. I owe you a couple of podcasts next week, and then we will be on to 2026 after a wild 2025 season. So we'll have all of that, a breakdown of 2025 and what's to come in 2026. We'll talk about that on next week's Locked On Nationals. But until then, have a good one. Go Nats.